Hi, welcome to TVCTV Studio. I'm here today with a great group of people, and we are going to put on a show for you, which is kind of cool because you're going to be able to see somewhere else at a different time when you're watching this, and I think that's really great. So the show we're going to put on for you today is called Deep and Wide. My name's Daniel. In the show, my name will be John. No, it's going to be Bob Rob. So I will be Bob Rob, and we're going to get it going. So, the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Deep and Wide, the show that just explores a wide variety of deep topics, and sometimes a deep variety of wide topics. Today, we're joined by a wide variety of deep people, and we're going to jump right into it, asking questions and hearing what they have to say. First question for you all. You all have indicated to me that sometimes you wake up right before your alarm clock goes off. I do that too, and I find it so fascinating. I was thinking the other day about it. Why does that happen? How could that possibly physically happen? We're asleep. How would we know? What do you have to say about that? Just jump right in.
I think we have internal alarms in our body, and we're used to certain time frames of when we wake up and routines, and yeah, that probably.
One thing I found though is that it could even be different times from day to day. Like somehow it's tied in with the clock, which makes no sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, your body already has a biological clock that kind of tells you what time of day it is. That's the reason why jet lag messes you up so bad, because you go from one time zone, and if you go across the world where it's like you're going from 9 a.m. to something like 7 p.m., the jet lag messes your internal clock up so much that you end up still waking up like the same times. You'll oversleep alarms at that point in time. But if you're in the same area, then you're pretty much on the right track.
That sounds good. But see, for me, it still doesn't explain to me how you can have a different time that the alarm's going off and still, I mean, I've done this plenty of times. One day the alarm's 6 o'clock, the next day it's 6:30. I wake up a minute before on each day. That's not, getting into just a habit. And I just think it's strange. John, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I'm trying to figure it out. When I wake up before my clock, usually I sort of have, immediately afterwards I have that battle. Do I want to get up or do I want to stay back in bed and ignore the alarm? And I think it's sort of, rather than the biological clock, because I can set it, change it from day to day, I think it's something more internal. It has something to do with my guilt. When I set the alarm, it's because I have something to do. And I think there's also a feeling of guilt there. And somehow or other that guilt, don't ask me how the guilt knows what time it is, but it's the guilt that does it.
And I think that's the main question there. How does the guilt, or whatever we want to call it, know the time? I mean, time is a constructed thing. We made clocks, we made time.
Yeah.
So I just still, once again, find it fascinating that we somehow hook into that when we're unconscious. Any final thoughts on that?
I wish I knew.
Wouldn't that be fun?
It would be.
All right, the next question. The next question we have is a very broad question. The future. What's to become of us? Anybody jump right in?
Do you mean future like an afterlife or future?
No, this question is about the future of humanity.
Well,
our
it
experiment
seems to me
here.
that humanity, sadly, our gluttony to use up resources, use up the planet, can't be satiated. We don't have any natural restraint. Our Congress and the budget struggle, we can see that. But it's also true in our environment. We're wasting resources. We're not thinking about saving things for the future unless our technology can somehow or other outpace the exhaustion of our resources. I think humanity is doomed on the Earth. Now, it's always possible. Few people might escape interplanetary transportation, but I think really what our duty is to help other interplanetary travelers when they reach us to leave a history, a monument, so they'll understand how our greed brought us to our destruction. That's the best thing that humanity can hope to do for other species out there.
Okay, so John has a somewhat pessimistic, but then also trying to help out future. How about you, Mike?
I think we have a pretty bright future. You look at history, over the course of time, people have done a lot of great stuff. Are we going to forever be on Earth? I doubt that, because eventually, resources do use up. But I think we can. I think we got it made. I think we can get out of this thing pretty well.
Okay, how about you, Matt?
I guess I'd have to agree with Mike, but I was thinking more in a short-term sense. Where is our future going, rather than probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in the future, maybe 40 years in the future, and I'm optimistic about it too. I think the human race as a whole is a survival, and we're at the top of the food chain for a reason, and it's survival of the fittest, and you adapt to what's to come, and people will figure it out, and there's enough smart people that things will be fine.
How about some visions of what that might be like? Say 40, 50, 200 years down the road. What can you envision?
Oh, I think it's going to be a lot of technology and, a lot, I guess, more of a cyber world. People will probably be cooped up in homes and on their computers and with their, what's it called, when your online self.
Oh, yes.
Virtual.
Your virtual self. You're probably going to definitely have a separation between a virtual person and a real person. And I don't know. That's how I foresee it, I guess.
And you picture the same 40 years from now and 300 years from now.
I suppose.
It's a hard
I guess I haven't
thing
really
to
put much thought into it.
How about either of you? What do you envision? Specifics.
Well,
how we live our lives.
I read from a lot of stuff from time to time about projections and stuff like that, and people forever have been saying how just an example, the U.S. is oil dependent. We're going to run out of oil. Well, I was reading in some study. I don't remember what it was. It's a national study. They're projecting the United States in 2050 or 2040 to be the number 2 oil producer in the world, simply because we're able to pull oil out of shale. And there's a lot of oil reserves in North Dakota, but it's all in shale, and you can't really get to it easily. But our technology is able to pull it out, and they're at one time they said we're going to be dependent on the Middle East, we're going to be dependent on other things, but it's that ability to innovate and engineer and use our technology that I say the future's wide open. I think yes, we'll probably be more of a virtual society at that time, but I think there's a lot of stuff out there in the world. People will, I think that virtual and that physical will tend to merge more and more, and yeah.
So you think, it sounds like both of you, it's kind of like the same that we have now, just better and more advanced.
Yes.
And how about you, John?
Well, even finding more fossil fuels. The problem with fossil fuels are they tend to contribute to greenhouse warming. Now, I know there are pious people who deny that greenhouse warming occurs, but I think they are incorrect. I think we see worse weather all the time. I'm not really sure that even if we find enough fossil fuels to provide our energy, that we can use them without destroying the environment and the planet. So I think we got to go to some other type of fuel. Now, question is, some species, have evolved for a while. They've met an environment and they've failed to evolve. Just because we've evolved in the past doesn't mean we're going to necessarily succeed to overcome whatever things are thrown at. Of course, it might be that the chimpanzees or the orangutans will figure out a way to survive where we can't, and it'll be their turn to control the planet, and that's always an optimistic thought.
So it sounds like your view is beyond just humanity into evolution, and
right.
We have evolved to this point. It doesn't mean we're going to succeed, but everything else will probably keep
now, there are,
going
of course,
and
the
evolving.
virtual world does offer really neat things like you know, you don't have to use a lot of resources once you get your computer set up to play all sorts of exciting games. And it also allows you communications opportunities with people on the other side of the world. It'll translate for you. You can talk to people. If it's a matter that cultural barriers are causing wars or cultural differences, then at least you have the chance to try to talk to those people over there, get to know them, let them to get to know you. And of course, maybe even after they get to know you, they'll be more likely to fight you. But it
Interesting.
It does offer some promising possibilities, but it's a matter of whether we succeed or not.
So a lot of these sound like they're still very human oriented, which is what I asked for. But you know, another view is also some combination of technological advancement, environmental destruction, and living with the natural system in a better way. And you know, I know a lot of people talk about that sort of thing. And any final thoughts on that idea beyond just the human experience, but how we do live here on this planet in a
They're
functioning way?
pessimistic things like you see the greed that seems to be inherent in all humans, which I don't know if we can ever overcome by evolution. But you also see things, even in my lifetime, when I was taught biology in high school or even in college, they didn't talk about sustainability. Now, in biology classes, they teach kids about sustainability. And it seems to be a thought that's permeating more and more culture. And it does give us some reason for optimism. But who knows what will happen.
Any final thoughts?
Something I'd probably say is, you know, when we look at 50 years, 40 years, 100 years, we're looking only at a small snapshot of history. I mean, you get reports of weather changing patterns, things like that. You're only talking about 50 years. Weather patterns go in 1,000-year cycles. They go in a lot longer cycles. And if it seems like things are getting worse now, it's not necessarily they're getting worse. We just may be in a upswing or something like that over the long course of history. I think overall, I think we're pretty good. I think I don't think we're going to go to Planet of the Apes. I don't think we got to worry about saying "damn, you damn dirty apes."
Or them saying it to us.
Yes, or whatever it is.
So yeah, long-term change, you know, if an ice age comes, that's going to change our world, but we will adapt. I think that's the general consensus here. Okay, well, we're out of time for this question. Now we're going to go to our first video clip of the day. This is a interview I did yesterday with our film critic, Philip. So here we go.
Hi there. Now we have a special guest, Mr. Philip B. Schmidt. Philip joins us once a week to answer one simple question. Phil, have you seen any good movies lately, and how were they? Well, Bob, I saw some real winners this week. Two that I want to talk about today. First one, from about a decade back, Dead Man. Jim Jarmusch directed it. Stars Johnny Depp, black and white, old time. Yeah. Johnny Depp comes from the East, just wants to do good, wants a good chance in life, wants a good start in life. But it's not to be that way because of the craziness that's happening in this country back then. End of the line. Well, I hadn't considered it quite like that before. Now, it's a little over the top in its strangeness, like Johnny Depp would be, you know. He shoots people, he gets shot, he shoots more people, he goes on the run. The Indians save him, but they can't save his life. It's beautiful. It'll open your eyes to new things. And it's just aesthetically bitchin'. Oh, well, that's fascinating. Now, the one that I'm most excited about, and I've been excited about this one since the moment I saw it, and I think I'll be excited about this one for a long, long time. Beasts of the Southern Wild. Came out a month or two ago by a little-known director named Skapa Kakudopaka. Hell, I don't know his name. Nobody knows his name. Actors and actresses, nobody knows, but people do care. Oh my word, Phil, that's fascinating. This movie is gonna blow your mind. Little girl near hurricane country. The little girl's mom's gone away, and daddy's dying, and she's ready for the apocalypse. But it's just crazy. They're all crazy. Drinking, swearing, talking all weird. It's just crazy what they do in this place. Those people are messed up, but in such a good way. So the prehistoric pig beasts that are as big as a house are traveling down for the melting ice caps. And these people are preparing their kids for the new world order. The new world order. That's sure to come. We won't be able to see movies like that anymore. Because none of this stuff will exist. Don't you worry your pretty little self there, Bobby. Ooh-wee. Sometimes you make it in, sometimes you make it out. But you always get through. Woo! I don't even know how to talk about this movie. Just go see it. I think it was the best movie I've ever seen. How about you? Well, man, that's about all I can say about these movies. Woo-wee. But you gotta go see them. Be somebody. Don't be nobody. Well, Phil, as always, it's been great. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time at the movies. That's a cut. Take care now, Bobby. Sorry, Bob. Well, you know, it's been a long time since I've seen a movie that really moved me, like, inside. You ever been moved inside? And I mean, really deep inside. That's a wrap.
Welcome back. We're here now with another group of fine people. All right. First question for you. Oh, I forgot to ask the first panel this. Will you please tell me your shoe size and height? Start with you, Matt.
I wear a 10 and a half,
Okay.
and I'm 6'1".
Okay.
I'm about 5'5", and my shoe size varies, but I'm between a 9 and a 10.
Okay. Kathy?
And
If you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
that
You can pass.
Yeah, pass. Thank
Okay.
you. Pass.
We're just going to make a
Yeah.
little chart here.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Okay, back to questions. If you could be any kind of a tree, what would you be? And you can just jump on in any point you want.
I've always wanted to be a willow.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I just think those are
I
so
know.
pretty.
They're beautiful, and they're strong because they have flexibility.
That's a great philosophy. The weeping willow or any kind of willow?
Any kind of willow, really,
Yeah.
and they're a great shade tree, and yeah,
They're always fun.
and they're very
Swing on.
resilient because they don't have to go down deep for water. Only they get water from the surface, and so
Very versatile.
yes.
If I had to be any kind of tree, I'd probably be a Christmas tree.
There you go.
That's an unexpected answer. Tell us why.
Christmas is my favorite holiday. My favorite time of the year. They're decorated awesome. They provide shade for presents, joy, and happiness. And yeah, I'd be a Christmas tree.
Would you want to be a live tree so you can
Oh, yeah,
go
live
on
tree.
to be,
Live tree for
grow
sure.
to be, have a nice tree life also?
Like replanted afterwards? Oh, that wouldn't matter to
Eventually.
me. I'm fine with one Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the differences that you guys see between men and women. Just jump right in.
That's a very long list.
Before I answer any of this, I don't know who is going to actually see this.
Who knows?
So I might have to keep my mouth shut on this one.
Just speak from your heart.
Oh, all right. It's my turn to speak from my heart. Well, it's tough because there's stereotypical differences, and then there's in real life when you know someone and you discover that there aren't that many differences. I mean, who's going to mow the lawn and who's going to do the dishes and who's going to feed the baby and but those are cultural. Those aren't necessarily actual differences between men and women. And all of those tasks have come to be tied into what we perceive to be emotional differences and intellectual differences. And it's mostly cultural and not true based on genetics or biology.
Would you say that there are any differences?
Well, obviously there are basic biological differences.
I don't mean physical, but
Yeah,
I mean differences in attitudes and outlooks and abilities between generalized man, generalized woman.
Well, the truth of it is probably no, but culturally, yes, there's a very long list of differences.
So I guess it's the nurture side versus the nature side. Nature,
Right.
you think, is
Right.
pretty much a
Right.
blank slate.
Yeah,
And
I
we
mean,
put on
I
it.
suppose that if you brought in like a physician, he could tell you that there were some specific structural differences, but no,
Well, I mean,
emotionally and
that's what- yeah.
intellectually, no, that's all just a construct.
Would you
I
guys
think
agree?
a person is a person.
I could see genetically how that could be a little, or I would disagree just a little, just in the fact that with women being estrogen-based, men testosterone, men might be a little bit more aggressive when approaching things, where women might be a little more thoughtful in decision-making. Men can be aggressive and forthcoming, and so in that aspect, I could see, like in a business world, that decisions would be made differently.
And
Don't you think that though I mean, men have been trained that way. They've been allowed. It's true. Men have testosterone, women have estrogen in different balances. But if you had been raised in a society where you were not allowed to let your testosterone affect your behavior,
I guess I can't answer that question because
we aren't.
I guess that's the hard part about that question. But I guess, and maybe this is because we are men,
Yeah.
or maybe it's because we've been taught to be men, but I would look at it on your side. I think it is a blank slate to begin with, to a large degree, but I do, from my own experience and then having children also, I think there is something to be said about biological differences and drives. I don't know. In fact, I find it kind of surprising to hear you guys both say that you think it's pretty much not that at all, if I'm hearing correctly. Would you say that?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I feel like it's pretty much just culturally. I mean, we learn to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it from the start and from how our bodies function, you wouldn't say that there's any biological induced differences in outlooks on life and personalities and that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. Any last words? Okay, well that little timer is telling us that it's our time for our next little video. So we will cut to that now.
You know the day destroys the night.